Neurons of one layer are connected to neurons of the next layer through channels. Each of these channels is assigned a numerical value known as weight. The inputs are multiplied to the corresponding weights, and their sum is sent as input to the neurons in the hidden layer. Each of these neurons is associated with a numerical value called the bias, which is then added to the input sum. This value is then passed through a threshold function called the activation function. The result of the activation function determines if the particular neuron will get activated or not. An activated neuron transmits data to the neurons of the next layer over the channels. In this manner, the data is propagated through the network. This is called forward propagation. In the output layer, the neuron with the highest value fires and determines the output. The values are basically a probability. For example, here, our neuron associated with square has the highest probability. Hence, that's the output predicted by the neural network. Of course, just by a look at it, we know our neural network has made a wrong prediction. But how does the network figure this out? Note that our network is yet to be trained. During this training process, along with the input, our network also has the output fed to it. The predicted output is compared against the actual output to realize the error in prediction. The magnitude of the error indicates how wrong we are, and the sign suggests if our predicted values are higher or lower than expected. The arrows here give an indication of the direction and magnitude of change to reduce the error. This information is then transferred backward through our network. This is known as backpropagation. Now, based on this information, the weights are adjusted. This cycle of forward propagation and backpropagation is iteratively performed with multiple inputs. This process continues until our weights are assigned such that the network can predict the shapes correctly in most of the cases. This brings our training process to an end. You might wonder how long this training process takes. Honestly, neural networks may take hours or even months to train, but time is a reasonable trade-off when compared to its scope. Let us look at some of the prime applications of neural networks. Facial recognition. Cameras on smartphones these days can estimate the age of the person based on their facial features. This is neural networks at play. First, differentiating the face from the background, and then correlating the lines and spots on your face to a possible age. Forecasting. Neural networks are trained to understand the patterns and detect the possibility of rainfall or a rise in stock prices with high accuracy. Music composition. Neural networks can even learn patterns in music and train itself enough to compose a fresh tune. So, here's a question for you. Which of the following statements does not hold true? A. Activation functions are threshold functions. B. Error is calculated at each layer of the neural network. C. Both forward and back propagation take place during the training process of a neural network. D. Most of the data processing is carried out in the hidden layers. Leave your answers in the comments section below. 3 of you stand a chance to win Amazon vouchers. So, don't miss it. With deep learning and neural networks, we are still taking baby steps. The growth in this field has been foreseen by the big names. Companies such as Google, Amazon, and NVIDIA have invested in developing products such as libraries, predictive models, and intuitive GPUs that support the implementation of neural networks. The question dividing the visionaries is on the reach of neural networks. To what extent can we replicate the human brain? We'd have to wait a few more years to give a definite answer. But if you enjoyed this video, it would only take a few seconds to like and share it. Also, if you haven't yet, do subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, as we have a lot more exciting videos coming up. Fun learning till then.
Pleasant days to everyone, especially to our honored evaluators, participants, and guests to this 2022 International Research Festival. I am Jonathan Dabalos, one of the faculty members here at Davao del Norte State College, and I will be presenting my study entitled Predicting Alzheimer's Disease in MRI Images using a modified PGG convolutional neural network architecture. So, as an introduction, Alzheimer's disease is a chronic illness that causes progressive, irreversible cognition deterioration, resulting to inability to perform even the most basic everyday activities, such as difficulties of learning and remembering recent information, communicating, such as speaking, reading, and writing, and performing executive functions, such as reasoning, decision making, and planning. The disease also causes personality and behavioral changes. It is the leading cause of dementia, accounting to 60 to 80% of the cases. And it is the fourth leading cause of death among elderly population in the USA. Contrary to the popular assumption that Alzheimer's disease is not a normal part of aging, the greatest significant factors, however, for the condition is the growing age, and the majority of those affected are 65 years old and older. The disease affects over 6 million of people in USA alone, and its death toll is estimated to increase 145% from 2000 to 2019. And by 2050, the affected population are projected to rise to 12.7 million. The symptoms of the Alzheimer's disease are unnoticeable until late progression. And there is currently no cure for the disease, but there is a medicine that can temporarily reduce the symptoms. That's why it is really important to early detect the disease. Physicians use a range of tests to diagnose the disease, such as reviewing of history records, physical examination, neurological examination, and mental cognitive tests. Brain imaging techniques like MRI are not used to diagnose the disease, but they are used to rule out other causes of dementia like symptoms such as head injury, tumors, and some history of stroke. However, as of 2010, the gold standard for diagnosing the disease only ranges from 70.9% to 87.3%. So, and with the advent of the technology available today, researchers are exploring new and better ways to diagnose the disease, including the use of MRI. So, for the general purpose of this study, we are going to detect Alzheimer's disease and its stages on MRI images using deep learning techniques. Particularly, we are going to review some of the literatures that utilizes digital imaging techniques to diagnose the Alzheimer's disease, implement deep learning techniques to identify normal cognitive or normal brain scans or NC, early stages of Alzheimer's disease or AD, mild cognitive impairment or MCI, and late stages of cognitive impairment or LMCI based on MRI images, and review the results. So for the methods used for the data acquisitions, I use the data sets that is acquired from the Kaggle machine learning data science community, which are compilation from the Alzheimer's disease neuroimaging initiative or ADNI database. The images are taken in actual view using the 3D-T1 magnetic resonance imaging. So these are the sample image data sets used in the study. So from the left side of the screen, we have normal cognitive sample for Alzheimer's disease or AD. We also have mild cognitive impairment or MCI and LMCIs. So based on Pantano et al. On 1999, the Alzheimer's disease is associated with its decrease in cerebral volume. So as you can, if we are going to compare the brain scan, persons with normal cognitive have seemingly have compact brain. However, as the disease progresses, as we notice, there is a noticeable decrease in cerebral volume. There is also other symptoms of the Alzheimer's disease is the symmetrical or asymmetrical enlargement of the temporal horn. Okay, so in this area, there are changes also. And then subsequent focal or at the top of the, or in the top of the brain scan, in the action or in this section, there are changes. So the data sets used in this study is around 2,269 MRI scans, which are divided into four categories. We have normal cognitive or NC, early stages of Alzheimer's disease or AD, mild cognitive impairment, and the late stages of cognitive impairment. So the table shown is a distribution of the number of cell calls used in the study. Actually, the complete data sets available in CADA community is around 5,121 with unequal distribution of data sets. However, because of the availability of hardware resource, so I decided to downsize the sample images to almost equal distribution. So we have NC 750, Alzheimer's disease or AD 750, and then mild cognitive impairment, which is 717 and 52 available brain scans for late stages of cognitive impairment. So to achieve the study's criteria, I chose to modify the very well-known VGG16 architecture for the experimental setting. The VGG architecture is originally consists of a total of 16 layers, and it is a well-known architecture for using 3 by 3 kernel filter size in each convolution layer with an increasing depth. As we can see in this image or illustration, we have an increasing depth of 64, 128, 256, 512, 512, 512, and fully connected layer 4096. And for the last layer, we have 1000. This architecture also requires an input image size of 224 by 224 by 3, and it produces a total parameters of around 133 to 144 million parameters. So to save computational spaces, computational space, so I decided to downsize the input size by 32 by 32 by 3 as depicted in this illustration. And then I also employed smaller filter size in each convolution layer, but still the convolution filters or the filters are still in increasing size. So I deployed smaller filter size of 8, 16, 32 as compared to the VGG original VGG architecture. We have 64, 128, 256, and 2 layers of 512 there. Okay. And the completely connected layers have also been reduced from 4096 in VGG. As you can see, we reduced the fully connected layers into 1024. And then also the strides are not employed in this study. both convolutional and Maxwell layers. But dropouts were used to after the second and third Maxwell layers to provide regularization. So as a result, the network is downsized to more than 1.6 million parameters. And then for testing this algorithm or this modified technique, I adopted a Pareto approach of 80 to 20% splitting. So 80% of the images were used to train the convolutional network, while the 20 was used for the validation of the proposed changes. So for the review of the literature, some of the literatures published have a good accuracy, like in Magnin et al., they use SVM to classify Alzheimer's disease with or healthy brain scans to early or brain scans of AD or Alzheimer's disease or early stages of Alzheimer's disease. They got 94.5 accuracy rate. Payan et al., as you can see, published in 2015, they use CNN, and then they use three-way classification, up to three-way classification, and their result is quite good. They got 89.47%. For this study, I use CNN, modified VGG architecture. So I got 96.93% for four-way classification. And these are the results for three-way and two-way classification. So in conclusion, we reviewed some of the literatures that uses MRI scans in predicting Alzheimer's disease. And then we also designed deep learning models to predict Alzheimer's disease and its stages, and we gained promising results. So for the recommendation for future improvement, it is recommended to use more advanced computer hardware because we need to increase the number of data sets. If possible, we could use the complete data sets available in CADA community. And then second is to analyze the effect of the imbalanced data set in the network because this network is just a proposed one. So we also, I haven't still tested it with other data sets, of course. And then, of course, since the data sets employed in my study are almost have the same, they almost have the same sizes, so they could affect the performance of the network. So that ends my presentation. Thank you so much for listening and have a good day.
Cabang ilmu komputer yang bertujuan untuk memungkinkan komputer melihat dan memahami dunia visual seperti manusia. Lebih tepatnya, computer vision mempelajari cara komputer dapat memproses, menganalisis, dan memahami gambar atau video yang diberikan melalui teknik-teknik seperti pengolahan citra, pengenalan pola, dan machine learning. Nah, hari ini kita akan membahas salah satu konsep penting dalam dunia computer vision, yaitu Convolutional Neural Network atau CNN. Selamat datang di Data Terms. Dari tim algoritma, dan hari ini saya akan mengajak kamu untuk mengenal apa itu Convolutional Neural Network. Silakan subscribe dan nyalakan lonceng notifikasi agar kamu tak ketinggalan info terbaru seputar data science. Sebelum kita bahas CNN, pertama-tama mari kita lihat apa itu neural network. Neural network adalah model pembelajaran mesin yang terinspirasi oleh struktur otak manusia. Dalam neural network, input data melewati beberapa lapisan yang disebut neuron untuk menghasilkan output yang akurat. Lalu, apa itu Convolutional Neural Network? CNN adalah jenis neural network yang dirancang khusus untuk memproses data gambar atau video. CNN memperkenalkan operasi khusus yang disebut convolution untuk memproses gambar.
Secara sederhana, convolution adalah operasi matematika yang mengalihkan matriks gambar dengan matriks filter atau kernel untuk menghasilkan fitur-fitur gambar baru. Setiap filter memiliki ukuran yang berbeda dan dapat mempelajari fitur-fitur yang spesifik dari gambar, seperti tepi atau garis. Salah satu kelebihan CNN adalah kemampuannya untuk mempelajari fitur-fitur gambar secara otomatis melalui pelatihan. Ini berarti bahwa CNN dapat memahami gambar tanpa perlu diatur secara manual. Selain itu, CNN juga dapat menangani gambar dengan ukuran yang berbeda dan dapat melakukan klasifikasi multi-class. Canggih banget kan? Nah, gimana cara CNN bekerja? Cara kerja Convolutional Neural Network atau CNN pada dasarnya melibatkan beberapa lapisan, yaitu lapisan konvolusi atau convolutional layer, lapisan pooling, dan lapisan penghubung atau fully connected layer. Oke, kita sekarang bahas satu-satu ya. Pertama, layer konvolusi. Lapisan konvolusi adalah lapisan pertama pada CNN yang berfungsi untuk mengekstraksi fitur dari gambar. Lapisan ini menerapkan filter konvolusi pada gambar dan menghasilkan peta fitur atau fitur map baru yang merepresentasikan fitur-fitur penting dalam gambar. Setiap filter konvolusi adalah matriks bobot yang ditentukan secara acak atau melalui learning. 2. Layer pooling. Setelah lapisan konvolusi, biasanya dilakukan lapisan pooling untuk mengurangi dimensi gambar dan mempercepat proses pelatihan. Ada beberapa jenis pooling, seperti max pooling atau average pooling. Itu untuk mengambil nilai tertinggi atau rata-rata dari area yang ditentukan pada peta fitur. 3. Fully connected layer. Setelah lapisan pooling, hasilnya akan dihubungkan ke dalam lapisan penghubung yang sepenuhnya terhubung. Lapisan penghubung ini berfungsi untuk mengambil fitur-fitur yang telah diekstraksi sebelumnya dan menghasilkan output yang dapat diinterpretasikan seperti kelas-kelas pada klasifikasi gambar. 4. Pelatihan dan pengujian. CNN melakukan pelatihan dengan menggunakan data gambar yang telah dikategorikan atau dilabeli terlebih dahulu. Selama pelatihan, bobot setiap filter konvolusi diatur ulang untuk meminimalkan kesalahan prediksi. Setelah pelatihan, CNN kemudian digunakan untuk menguji data gambar yang belum pernah dilihat sebelumnya. Fungsi utama dari Convolutional Neural Network atau CNN adalah untuk memproses data gambar atau video dan menghasilkan output yang akurat seperti klasifikasi deteksi objek atau segmentasi gambar. CNN memperkenalkan operasi khusus yang disebut convolution untuk memproses gambar dan memiliki kemampuan untuk mempelajari fitur-fitur gambar secara otomatis melalui pelatihan. Nah, gimana sih contoh aplikasinya? Pertama, pengenalan wajah. CNN digunakan dalam aplikasi pengenalan wajah seperti FaceNet dan DeepFace yang memungkinkan sistem untuk mengidentifikasi dan mengenali wajah dengan akurasi yang tinggi. CNN dapat mempelajari fitur-fitur wajah secara otomatis dan membedakan satu wajah dengan wajah yang lainnya. Yang kedua, deteksi objek. CNN digunakan dalam aplikasi deteksi objek seperti YOLO, You Only Look Once, dan Faster RCNN, yang dapat mendeteksi objek dalam gambar dengan akurasi yang tinggi. CNN mempelajari fitur-fitur objek seperti bentuk dan warna yang dapat membedakan satu objek dengan objek yang lainnya. Yang ketiga, kalau di industri kesehatan, CNN dapat digunakan untuk pendeteksian kanker. CNN digunakan dalam aplikasi pendeteksian kanker seperti penggunaan mamogram dalam deteksi dini kanker payudara. CNN dapat mempelajari fitur-fitur abnormal pada gambar mamogram dan mengidentifikasi kemungkinan adanya kanker. Yang keempat, pengolahan citra medis seperti CT scan dan MRI. Lalu, kalau kita bahas mobil otonomus yang tadi, fungsi utama dari CNN dalam mobil otonomus adalah untuk melakukan deteksi objek, pengenalan wajah, dan pengenalan pola pada lingkungan sekitar mobil. Dengan menggunakan teknologi deteksi objek yang ditingkatkan, CNN dapat mengenali dan melacak kendaraan, pejalan kaki, rambu lalu lintas, dan bahkan binatang liar di sekitar mobil. Selain itu, dari segi keamanan, pengenalan wajah dapat membantu mengidentifikasi pengendara di sekitar mobil dan memastikan bahwa kendaraan otonom hanya dapat diakses oleh pengguna yang sah. Karena tujuan utama dalam penggunaan CNN dalam mobil otonom adalah untuk meningkatkan keselamatan pengguna jalan. Tentu, mobil tersebut harus dibekali dengan kemampuan deteksi objek yang tinggi. Mobil otonom dapat secara akurat mengenali dan merespon lingkungan sekitarnya dengan cepat dan tepat. Hal ini dapat mengurangi risiko kecelakaan yang disebabkan oleh kesalahan manusia, seperti ketidaktahuan atau keterlambatan dalam merespon situasi di jalan raya. Selain itu, CNN juga dapat membantu meningkatkan efisiensi pengemudian dalam mobil otonomus. Dengan kemampuan pengenalan pola yang tinggi, CNN dapat membantu mobil otonomus mengambil keputusan yang lebih baik dalam mengemudikan kendaraan, seperti memilih rute terdekat dan menghindari kemacetan lalu lintas. Berdasarkan penjelasan tadi, kita dapat menyimpulkan bahwa Convolutional Neural Network atau CNN adalah algoritma pembelajaran mesin yang banyak digunakan dalam pemrosesan dan analisis gambar. CNN memungkinkan sistem untuk mempelajari fitur-fitur gambar secara otomatis dan membedakan objek dalam gambar dengan akurasi yang tinggi. Tertarik untuk mempelajari lebih jauh tentang metode ini? Silakan bergabung di Lifetime Learning Algoritma Academy. Investasi sekali, sampai jadi ahli.